Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 9 of the Spark podcast. My name is Jack, I'll be your host, and today we're going to talk about Bitcoin. So what is Bitcoin? Anyone who has never heard of it before, Bitcoin is a digital token with no physical backing. It is a cryptocurrency that is used in place of euros, dollars, pounds, sterling, any other type of currency. It's essentially the same thing and has fluctuating values. It can be sent from one user to another anywhere in the world, and it is stored on a computational device like your phone, a laptop, a PC that has a Bitcoin wallet associated with you. It's not even associated with you. It's totally anonymous. All you need is a password to get into it, and that's your wallet there where all your money is, all your Bitcoin anyway. Bitcoin itself can be divided down to 8 decimal places, so it's possible to buy 0.000000001 Bitcoins. Now that is totally worthless at the moment, but it may come into play in the future, because as of today, when I'm recording this, is the 4th of April 2019. One Bitcoin is equivalent, according to Google, is equal to €436.05. Now, it fluctuates wildly. If you invested at the start when Bitcoin was first released, I think it was like $300-ish per Bitcoin. At its peak in December of 2017, I believe, it was up to around 16,000 per Bitcoin. So if you were very smart and if you wanted to become a millionaire, all you had to do was invest 20 grand at the start and take it out on that day in December, and you would have $1 million. It's crazy. Or €1 million, sorry, not dollars. The important thing about Bitcoin is it's not run by a single company or person. It's a system that's run by a decentralized network of computers around the world that keep track of all Bitcoin transactions. Now, the system that Bitcoin uses is called blockchain. Blockchain is pretty complicated, but it's just, in layman's terms, it's the ability to see all transactions, but not who's doing them. It's kind of, there's no central database where everything is stored. Everything is stored on every node in the database. So if your computer is hooked up, or your phone, or if you have a Bitcoin wallet, every transaction is stored on every wallet. There's no central thing. And that introduces a lot of freedoms that other currencies don't have. As I was saying earlier, the price of Bitcoin fluctuates constantly, and it's determined by the open market bidding. It's very similar to stock prices on the stock market or other similar currency prices. Obviously, if the value of the euro goes down, it goes down in relation to the Bitcoin becomes more expensive, if you know what I mean. So where did it come from? It was introduced in 2008 by Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, that's not a real name. I mean, obviously it's a real name, but that's not his real name. He was a very quiet and private individual who only communicated via email and social messaging, probably for his benefit. Nobody knows who he really is. He created the original rules when it released, he created the original rules himself and then released it as an open source software to the world in 2009. So this was his kind of gift to the world as cryptocurrencies. Where did they come from though? Where does the actual value of these come from? Bitcoins are mined. I say mined in inverted commas. A new Bitcoin is created and given to the computers. New Bitcoins are created and given to the computers helping to maintain the network. So anyone can do this. Anyone with a PC or something with computational power can do this. You can hook into the network, use their software to mine Bitcoins. and you'll be involved in a computational race to process transactions on the network. Usually what happens is a lot of people group together so that they have more computational power themselves, and whoever gets the answer for the... Okay, I'll go back to the very start because it's quite complicated. What happens is transactions are going back and forth between wallets constantly, like millions a second, and all these transactions are placed into blocks, and the blocks are kind of built up over a period of about 10 minutes, and whoever computes the perfect number of the block gets a certain amount of bitcoins. I think it's around 12.5 bitcoins now every 10 minutes, but that value halves every 4 years. Now, one way to kind of game that system is to build coalitions, or what are they called when people do the lotto together? Syndicates. Yeah, you form a syndicate of like different users from around the world who have powerful machines, and hopefully, if everything goes well, you'll work together and you'll be the ones who calculate this correct value first, and you'll get the bitcoins. So it's just 12.5 now, which is quite a considerable amount of money. It's what's 12.5 times 4,000? It's a lot. It's a lot. It's like 50 grand. It's pretty fantastic. So, but that would be spread amongst everyone in the syndicate. So you may come out with maybe a few dollars. It depends on how many people are in the syndicate. You can go it alone, but the chances of you calculating this on your own is, like, compared to thousands of people in syndicates, is just minimal. And it's like buying lottery tickets. You can get it and hope, but it's probably never going to happen. But it could happen. The system self-regulates itself. So if there are more computers on the system itself, obviously there'll be more computing power going into solving these equations on the blocks, so they'll be solved a bit earlier. So what the system does is it knows how many nodes are on the system, and it sets the difficulty rate for the equation accordingly. So if there's loads more computers, there's more computing power, and then so the computational equation needs to get more difficult, and it self-regulates this as in real time. So it'll always keep it down to around 10 minutes. This will continue until there are 21 million bitcoins in the world. So it's a finite currency. There will only ever be 21 million bitcoins. There's around, I think it's like 16 or 17 million now. But because it keeps halving every 4 years, we won't get to 21 million bitcoins until the year 2140, which is quite a while away. So we're in the era of bitcoins being brought into the world. As I said, anyone can mine with a regular PC, but there is specialized equipment that you can buy that is more suited to doing these certain equations. One of the problems that I have with this is that I am a PC gamer. I've always wanted to be a PC gamer. It took me a couple of years to save up and get one that I was happy with. And this was kind of before the Bitcoin craze. Well, Bitcoin was around, but it didn't go as mad as it was back then. And the problem with that is the things that are probably the best at mining Bitcoin, bang for your buck, are graphics cards. And the value of the price of graphics cards skyrocketed when everyone became Bitcoin miners. So now it's even more expensive to buy a gaming PC or build one yourself. I'd always build one yourself. Don't buy them. They're fucking way overpriced. Always build it yourself. It's very easy. It's like Lego for adults. I was trying to say adult and adult at the same time, and it just came out really weird, and it shouldn't, because it's the same fucking word. But if you ever want to get into PC gaming, just build one yourself. It's super easy. There's tons of videos online, and like there's forums where you can go on and say, "Is this a good build?" And people do it all the time for fun. I do it sometimes. Just tell people it's good, bad, indifferent. But Bitcoin mining has made it slightly more expensive for the graphics cards, so it kind of sucks for me. But back to Bitcoin, back to the task at hand. Where can you buy Bitcoin? Some companies in most countries will sell Bitcoin for local currency. Say, for example, in Ireland, I think the biggest one at the moment is, well, the biggest one I could find. They claim to do 53% of all transactions. All iPad transactions, they call it. I'm not sure what that means exactly in Ireland, but they're called bitx.ie. They also have an Bitcoin ATM in Dublin somewhere. I don't know if it's the only one that they have, but they've got a few. Maybe they've got a few, sorry. You can also use apps like Revolut, and I believe you could probably buy some online somewhere. But if you'd like to keep your identity secret, like most Bitcoin users do, there are services like Local Bitcoins, which will connect you to people to meet in person and exchange Bitcoins for cash. This is kind of similar to the whole done deal model, where people just kind of put up offers. I believe, I haven't actually looked at it myself. Maybe it's different, but I believe it's people just going, I have 0.00567 Bitcoins to sell for I want €500 or whatever. That's probably way off. Just picking numbers off the top of my head. But that is possibly how it works. And I'd imagine that would be quite simple, and you don't even have to talk to, well, I suppose you have to talk to the person, but you don't have to tell them your name and your address and all that shite. So nobody knows who you are, and you can just keep going on your daily life without telling anyone your identity or your address. Now, because of that, Bitcoin does get used for certain nefarious purposes. I suppose one of the reasons that it became so popular and so powerful compared to other currencies was because it was being accepted by drug dealers on the Silk Road in 2011. If you don't know what the Silk Road is, it's it's a very popular online black market where you can literally exchange Bitcoins for anything, like anything. You can buy weapons, you can buy drugs, heroin, marijuana, cocaine, you name it, it's probably up there. And it'll just get dropped straight to your door. No questions asked if you've got Bitcoin. Don't do it. It's illegal. Don't do it. Don't do it at all. And there are ways around being found, but I'm not going to tell you them. You gotta look at them yourself. Don't do it. Just don't. It's bad. It's illegal and bad, and it should never be done, ever, at all, by anyone. More recently, it's being used for ransom payments. So if you ever hear of companies' IT systems being taken over, I'm not sure if I think it happened to the NHS in the UK recently enough, where the system got hacked, if you will, and they demanded a certain amount of Bitcoins to pay off the ransom. There's no way of tracking where the transaction goes to, so it's a good way of demanding ransom money. These aren't tips, these are just things that happen, alright? I'm not inciting anyone to go and install ransomware on somebody else's system and demand money for it. But if you were going to do it, this is probably the system you'd use, or some other cryptocurrency. So because of these like nefarious reasons of drugs and ransomware, why doesn't the government shut it down? And the main reason is because they can't. The nature of a blockchain system like Bitcoin is that there's no central hub, there's no one in charge of it. It's totally autonomous, it's decentralized. Everyone is in charge of it and no one's in charge of it, because everyone has the transactions. but everyone has the transaction, so nobody's really got power in it. It's just something that we all share amongst ourselves, and that's kind of beautiful in a way. But as I said earlier, every transaction is stored by every user, and it can't be taken out very easily unless they set up some sort of fucking strike team around every fucking computer on the planet. They won't be able to get rid of it. It's something that I think may be around forever until, I don't know, the Earth is destroyed or some sort of electromagnetic pulse just wipes out every electrical device. It's kind of a strange thing, really. It's just another way to exchange money. But as I was saying, only a small amount of the actual Bitcoin transactions are illegal activities. The vast majority of them are actually people transferring it back and forth amongst themselves for other currencies, trying to speculate if it'll go up or down, or make a profit out of it, just trading in general. There are better uses for it. I don't know if it's a better use for it, but it's a more kind of something you can sympathize with. Is for people living in high inflation rate. People living in countries with high inflation rates have bought Bitcoin to avoid losing the value of their savings to inflation. So, say if you had countries like Argentina, Venezuela, if they had, say, 1,000, I don't know what their currency is. Maybe they use dollars. I don't know. So if they had $1,000 saved up, and the inflation rate was 100%, which is nuts. Next year, that money would only be worth $500 that it was that time. So if you could buy 1,000 bananas with it, you can only buy 500 next year. But if you buy Bitcoin with it at that rate, the Bitcoin will come back in, and you'll then have $2,000 compared to the $1,000 that you would have had in your savings. So it's a way to get around the inflation. Well, you could buy. You wouldn't exactly have $2,000. You could buy 2,000 bananas. It's not exactly an accurate thing, but it's just a way to avoid that nonsense. I think it happened. Was it the Congo or Zimbabwe or some country like that, where the inflation rate just went fucking crazy, and you could get like $100 trillion notes, and they would buy you fucking an orange and fucking a button. It was worth nothing. It was like total nonsense. Inflation rates are interesting. That may be another episode of the podcast. I've got a very interesting inflation rate analogy. I'm going off topic here. Back after World War One, because I always get back to the spaces between World War One and the end of World War Two. It always comes back into daily life. But after World War One, when Germany had to pay reparations to the Allied forces, they just went, fuck it, we'll just print off loads of money and give it to them, and everything will be fine. And it wasn't fine at all. That's how inflation happens. People are stupid, and they go, if we print off more money, we'll have more money, but then it becomes less valuable because there's more of it. And eventually it gotten to the point where people would go to collect their wages with wheelbarrows, and just fill it up with paper money because it was so worthless. You may get like $30 worth, but it's like 5 billion marks, and it's nonsense. So they started trading in cigarettes because they were actually worth something. But yeah, that's my story about inflation. So that's one way to get around that ridiculous inflation, and that will maybe, hopefully, never happen again. Something that ridiculous. It's also Bitcoin. We're going to get back to Bitcoin. It's also used in businesses internationally. It's quite a popular thing to do if you want to transfer money internationally from one country to another. The bank transfers with traditional currencies can take weeks, but millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin can be transferred in minutes. So it's a massive massive time-saving operation just to get around the whole bank's transfer systems and You know yourself when you're fucking trying to file something and it's sitting on someone's desk for 2 weeks and you're like, fucking do it, and they just won't. And this way, you're just cutting out the middleman. You're just literally transferring it straight over. It's like if you're on AIB, transferring money on it is so simple. You just put in their IBAN and it just goes straight over, like in a matter of seconds. Now, I imagine it takes longer if you've got fuck tons of bitcoins, but a lot faster than going through a banking system. There are not a lot of places you can spend your money in Ireland that I could find online anyway. Now, I could be wrong. There are shops, mostly in Dublin. There's like little cafes and things where you'll see the "We accept Bitcoin" sticker in the window. But I'd imagine a lot of places can do it. I've seen videos of people online going up to like food trucks that accept Bitcoin, which I think is genius, because you never need to take your wallet with you again. You just take your phone and all your money's on it and you can buy stuff with it. Now, you can still do that with traditional money if you have NFC and you can tap it, like people do with their fucking smartwatches and everything. But Bitcoin is kind of a slow burner, especially in Ireland. We're a bit slow to take up technology. I imagine in America it's a bit more popular. You could probably go into any coffee shop and buy for Bitcoin. Maybe not any coffee shop, but like some of the bigger ones, like Dunkin' and all that good shit. I don't know. I don't know any. Starbucks. There we go. That's a coffee shop in America. Starbucks. Not as good as Costa. They replaced the coffee shop in the building I work in. It was a Costa coffee shop and now it's a Starbucks, and I'm infinitely disappointed. I mean, it's still coffee. I still need it, but I'd prefer if it was Costa. It just tastes better for some reason. But anyway, back to Bitcoin. I keep getting fucking distracted. Where was I going? Where was I? I was talking about it being spent in Ireland. There is a takeaway, I suppose, website you could call it. I don't think it is. There an app of it? Maybe there is. Marvin.ie. I think they're Just Eat's main competitor. They take Bitcoin, apparently. Amazon will take Bitcoin as well if you want to buy stuff from Amazon.co.uk. I don't think there is an Irish Amazon at the moment, but I've been using Amazon.co.uk and it's been working out fine for me. But yeah, anywhere you see that symbol, they'll accept Bitcoin. I have never bought Bitcoin or used it for anything, so I'm not entirely sure myself, and I'm the wrong person to ask. So if you want to find out, just go Google and see what you can find out. Now, there are other cryptocurrencies that are being used throughout the world. Bitcoin isn't the only one, and it probably never will be. There are like stupid ones that come up, like Dogecoin. You know that meme about the dog? Is it Doge or Doggy or DOGE, however you pronounce that? Nobody tells you. You just see it written down a lot. Stupid things like that. But there is a top 10 most popular ones being used at the moment. Number 1 is Bitcoin, obviously, because that's the one I've actually called the episode after, and it would make sense. That's the one that everyone recognizes. The second most popular one is Ethereum. Then third is Ripple. Fourth is Bitcoin Cash. Now, you may get confused between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. That would be straightforward enough. What happened in 2016 was that Bitcoin Cash branched away from Bitcoin, and the strange thing about it is it's no longer Bitcoin Cash is no longer a decentralized network. It actually has a CEO, which I don't agree with really at all. That's like going against the whole point of making a fucking cryptocurrency, is that you have a figurehead who's in charge of the whole thing. That doesn't make sense. It should be a decentralized platform, but who am I to judge? I'm not really invested in this at all. So that's number 4. The 5th one is EOS. Then 6th is Cardano. Then you have Litecoin, Stellar, IOTA, and 10th is NEO. I have no idea how much any of these are worth. I probably should have done it in my research, but I imagine Bitcoin is the most expensive one at the moment. I mean, I could be wrong, but it's a safe enough bet to make. Now, you will always see young people on YouTube, if you Google it, Bitcoin millionaires. These are people who invested early and got out at a peak. And it's investing in currencies is kind of, investing in anything is gambling in a more sophisticated way. Just because you're not surrounded by smoke and alcoholics doesn't mean you're not gambling. Anyone can do it. Anyone can buy it. I know people who have bought it and done very well. I know people who have bought it at the wrong time and done very badly. You're just throwing money away. But I have a feeling that Bitcoin's probably only going to get more popular as time goes on. And the idea of international currencies is kind of stupid to me. The fact that dollars and pound sterling and euros all have different values. It just doesn't make sense to me. It makes everything more complicated and more difficult to buy. It's kind of why I love the euro, is that you can go anywhere in the European Union, and I think some places outside the European Union have the euro as well, and you can just bring your own damn money. I went to Scotland over the weekend. Oh yeah, that was why there was no episode that weekend, because I was drinking in Scotland once, watching Munster win. It was fantastic. I'd recommend anybody go to Edinburgh. But I had to change my money into pound sterling. And it kind of, now it's very close at the moment, but when I was younger, the pound sterling vastly outvalued or overvalued no, it didn't know. It was just cost a lot more than a euro did. I think it was at like €1 was 60 pence in sterling at some stage, but now it's kind of around similar enough. I think it was at point. I think £1 was €1.16 when I went over there. But everything was pretty close, but I was still a little bit off. You know, I was like, they're close enough, but I still had to like do a little bit of math in my head to make sure that was okay. Now, I don't think there's any need for that. The beauty of the euro is that we can go to any country and buy things. I know exactly how much that is worth to me. It doesn't make sense. And then you have other places like Vietnam that have their own currency, but they'll also accept dollars because, you know, they can. Which is kind of beautiful in a way too, where they're just like, it's all money. I don't know. It's I'm not an expert by any means, and I don't think I ever will be about currency, but I still believe we should all use a central currency, and I believe that eventually a cryptocurrency will be that currency, and there'll be no actual physical money anymore. Possibly. It just seems nonsense just to have this thing that can be destroyed. Now, people can hack your I don't know if they can hack your wallet, but they can get your password off you and just take all your money out of it, you know. Very easy to do. But people can get your bank password and your bank details and take all your money out of that as well. So, I don't know. The idea of physical money is something that I haven't used a lot recently. Like, I'm always using my card contactless rather than bring around cash with me, because I'm not a careless person, but I'm always worried that like I'll drop my wallet and there'll be €400 in it, and I might get the card back. I can cancel that, but the €400 is fucking gone. You know, so I'm kind of a very pro cryptocurrency kind of guy. Now, I haven't bought any of it or ever used it, but I like the idea. I like where it's going, and I enjoy the whole decentralized nature of it, and whatever happens, happens. So yeah, that's a little brief introduction to cryptocurrency. I did not go over how blockchain works in any detail at all, because I do not understand it at all. I don't believe I'm the right person to look into it. No, I could be. It will take me longer than doing a normal 1 week show. It's going to take a long time for me to look into blockchain and understand it, because I'm not a script writing guy or a coding guy. Now, I can code a little bit, but like nothing compared to people I know. But maybe I will. Maybe I'll look into it. Who knows? But I think that's enough for today. I'd like to thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next episode. I don't know what that is, I kind of left it loosey-goosey at the moment, and I'm just doing them as I think of them. But I want to thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.